Born on February 2nd of 1803 in Washington, Kentucky, Albert Sidney Johnston was the son of a country doctor who'd moved from New England. At the age of 15, he started his studies at Transylvania University in Lexington, studying medicine in hopes of following in his father's footsteps. It was here that he met and struck up a friendship with the young Jefferson Davis. In 1822, he decided to follow the career path of an Army officer and gained an appointment to the United States Military Academy at West Point, and he graduated from there 8th in his class of 41 cadets in 1826. A year later, he saw his first action in the expedition to capture the Winnebago chief Redbird. 2 years later, he married Henrietta Preston, and the couple had 3 children, 2 of whom survived to adulthood. In 1832, he served in the Black Hawk War as a chief of staff to General Henry Atkinson, and during this time he was noted for his professionalism and integrity. Unfortunately, he had to leave the Army in 1834 to care for his ailing wife, who died 2 years later of tuberculosis. The grieving Johnson then moved to the Republic of Texas, where he joined the Texian Army as a private and quickly rose through the ranks, becoming a senior brigadier general in command of the Texas Army. His quick ascendance, however, greatly offended the sensibilities of a fellow Kentuckian, General Felix Houston, spelled with an O, unlike the Republic's President Sam Houston with an OU. The angry Houston challenged Johnston to a duel, and with his considerable honor at stake, Johnston accepted. At sunrise on February 5th of 1837, the two met under a live oak, which was later christened the Dueling Oak. In recognition of Houston's reputation as an expert marksman, Johnston's second suggested that the two men agree to handicap themselves by firing from the hip. Johnston and Houston blasted away at each other 3 times, and on the third exchange, Houston shot Johnston. The attending physician, noting that the ball had injured the fallen Johnston's sciatic nerve, assured him that he was going to die. Houston approached his badly injured foe, offered condolences, and said he would now be happy to serve under him. And for several weeks, Johnston lingered at death's door before recovering and being given the office of Secretary of War for the Republic. Now, while fulfilling the duties of his office, he defended the border against several small incursions from the Mexican Army and fought the Cherokee War of 1838 and 1839 in North Texas. He saw action at the Battle of Neches near Tyler. In 1840, Johnston resigned and moved back to Kentucky at the request of his deceased wife's cousin, Eliza Griffin. In 1843, he married Miss Griffin, and the couple moved to a modest plantation near Galveston, which they named China Grove. Now, this is not the same China Grove in Bexar County that's immortalized by the Doobie Brother song. And Doobie brother Tom Johnson is also no relation. Once again in Texas, the couple had 3 more children, bringing their family to 5. However, the life of a farmer didn't suit Johnston, and in May of 1846, when the United States declared war on Mexico, he volunteered to serve in General Zachary Taylor's Army of Occupation. And during the Battle of Monterey, he took leadership of the situation when the commanding general William O. Butler was wounded. Future Federal General Joseph Hooker, who was serving alongside Johnston, noted, "It was through Johnston's agency, mainly, that our division was saved from a cruel slaughter. The coolness and magnificent presence that he displayed on this field left an impression on my mind that I have never forgotten." General Taylor considered Johnston the best soldier he'd ever commanded. At his wife's request, Johnston resigned from the Army just after the Battle of Monterey in October of 1846. However, when General Taylor became President Taylor, Johnston was begged to rejoin, and he became paymaster for the United States forts in the western United States. In 1855, after exemplary service, he was appointed as colonel overseeing the formation of the 2nd U.S. Cavalry. Now, the officers that he oversaw comprised a who's who of future Civil War generals, including Robert E. Lee, William Hardy, George Thomas, Earl Van Dorn, George Stoneman, and John Hood. And while overseeing this unit, he again fought in North Texas against the Comanche. In November of 1857, he moved further west, and he was dispatched to crush the Mormon Rebellion in the Utah Territory. Now, based out of Fort Bridger, Wyoming, Johnston showed remarkable skill in managing a difficult logistical situation of keeping his troops warm, healthy, and happy during the harsh winter. That spring, the Utah War was resolved peacefully without a shot being fired between Latter-day Saints militias and the federal troops, and Johnston's troops were able to peacefully move into and occupy the Utah Territory. During this time, he worked tirelessly to repair the sour relations with the Indian tribes of the area and the Mormons, and he felt he treated both with honesty and dignity. With glowing accolades, Johnston was promoted to brigadier general on March the 24th of 1858. In 1860, he was sent to Los Angeles to oversee the Department of the Pacific, and despite his positive qualities, Johnston owned a handful of slaves and remained a strong supporter of slavery. While he opposed secession, he did feel compelled to resign his commission from the United States Army in May of 1861. He made his way across the country back to the east, hoping that he could fulfill some sort of function for the Confederate cause. And despite his age, 58 was old by military standards, his old friend Jefferson Davis was overjoyed to have a capable general join the cause, and put him in charge of the crucial western theater of Mississippi, Missouri, Arkansas, Tennessee, and Kentucky. Despite being short men and supplies, Johnston was able to use raids to make it appear that he had a larger force. And his tactics caused great consternation to Union General William Sherman, who was constantly outfoxed by the rebel forces in the region. However, uncharacteristically, Johnston was incapable of handling his forces at Fort Henry and Fort Donelson, which protected Nashville along the Tennessee River, and this led to the fall of the city in February of 1862. Johnston was then forced to flee south to Corinth, Mississippi, and he supplemented his 17,000 men with 10,000 troops under Braxton Bragg from Mobile, as well as reinforcements from Louisiana. By the end of March, he'd built up a force of over 40,000 men. Johnston realized that the only way to retake western Tennessee from Ulysses S. Grant's Federal Army of the Tennessee was to hurry and crush Grant before he obtained reinforcements from General Don Carlos Buell. By the 5th of April, the Confederates were within a couple of miles of Grant's troops, who were disembarking at Pittsburgh Landing on the Tennessee River. Early the next morning, Johnston launched a massive attack against Grant's troops, personally leading from the front to rally his forces. One of his most famous remarks in the battle occurred when he witnessed some of his soldiers breaking from the ranks to pillage and loot the U.S. camps, and he was outraged to see a young lieutenant among them. "None of that, sir," Johnston roared at the junior officer. "We're not here to plunder." Then, realizing he'd embarrassed the man, he picked up a tin cup from a table and announced, "Let this be my share of the spoils today," before directing his army onward. At about 2:30 p.m., while astride his horse, Fire Eater, and leading one of those charges against a U.S. camp near the peach orchard, Johnston was wounded when a minie ball pierced the back of his right knee and nicked his popliteal artery. Bleeding severely, blood began to pool in Johnston's boot. Now, this was not noticed for some time, and it's been theorized that due to the damage of sciatic nerve from his 25-year-old dueling wound, he was unable to feel this grave injury. Shortly thereafter, Johnston slumped over in his saddle, and his aides were able to take him to a nearby ravine where he passed away. Johnston's body was quietly moved to his field headquarters so as not to damage morale, and command passed to PGT Beauregard. Fighting finally began to subside at dusk, and Don Carlos Buell's reinforcements arrived from the north that night, and the Union Army drove the Confederate Army from the field the next morning. Johnston was the highest-ranking fatality of the war on either side, and his death was a strong blow to the morale of the Confederacy. At the time, Davis considered his old friend the finest general in the CSA, and Johnston was eventually moved to Austin, where he was interred at the Texas State Cemetery. This week's game is Across 5 Aprils, and it was published in 1992 by Victory Games. Its designer was Eric Lee Smith, who's been pretty prolific in designing Civil War games. It fits a little bit on complexity above the Blue and Gray series. Let's go ahead and cover some of the rules for it. On the map, each hex represents an area 300 yards across. In the Shiloh scenario, there are 3 general types of terrain to be concerned with: woods, clear, and swamps. And the effect of these terrains are noted on the terrain effects chart. The isolated farmsteads, the fences, the orchards, and the 2 ponds on the map don't have any effect upon play whatsoever. These have been included only for aesthetic reasons. If the hex contains a symbol for more than one type of terrain, then the entire hex is considered to consist of the terrain that covers the majority of that hex. And in addition to the hex terrain, there's also some hex side terrain, and these include roads, streams, creeks, rivers, fords, and bridges. And again, they're detailed in the terrain effects chart. Now, there's 3 basic types of combat units in the game: cavalry, artillery, and infantry. Now, let's go over these playing pieces in detail. Now, units move and fight as formations under a formation commander, and the color of the lettering on the unit indicates what formation it belongs to. For example, Buckland, Hildebrand, and 1 battery have red lettering, which corresponds to the Union formation commander William Sherman. Also, on the unit, there's an attack strength, and this value represents the unit's combat power on the attack, while the defense strength represents the unit's combat power while defending. There's also a movement allowance in the lower right, and this is the number of movement points that a unit can expend each time it moves. Finally, on the unit counter, there's a morale rating, and this number measures how well a unit's soldiers perform in battle. And a rating of 0 is considered average, while those units with a positive number are above average, and units with a negative number are below average. Now, the morale rating is used to modify die rolls made when attacking and defending in combat, and when resolving morale checks. Now, casualties caused by combat are measured in terms of steps, and a two-sided combat unit is said to have 2 steps. When it takes its first loss in combat, it's flipped over, and when it takes another loss, it's eliminated. There's also one-sided combat units that have only 1 step, and when they take a loss, they're eliminated. This game has a fairly basic sequence of play. There are 3 phases: a marker cup segment, an operations segment, and finally the game turn advancement segment. So let's start with the phase marker cup segment. Now, the order that units can move and fight in the game is determined by the draw of pieces called phase markers. And each formation commander has a phase marker associated with them, and at the beginning of each turn, all the commander's phase markers on both sides are placed into an opaque cup. Now, each side also has 1 combat phase marker, and these 2 counters are also placed into the cup at the beginning of the turn. Now, note in the Shiloh game, the Union combat counter is added to the cup in turn 3. You then move to the operations segment, and in this segment, the phase markers are drawn one at a time from a cup. And the formation associated with that phase marker, or the side in the case of a combat marker, must resolve all movement or combat before another phase marker is drawn. In other words, if a movement phase marker is drawn, the owning player can move all units belonging to the formation associated with it. And if the Union or Confederate combat phase marker is drawn, that side's combat phase is immediately resolved for all units on that side. After this, another marker is drawn, and this pattern continues until all the markers are drawn and the operations segment finishes. Now, note that all units associated with a single phase marker may be eliminated, and if this occurs, simply ignore that phase marker and draw another one. Finally, there's a game turn advancement segment, and in this segment, the game turn markers moved ahead 1 space, and a new game turn begins with the phase marker segment. However, if you move on to a space on the game turn track that says victory determination, then you check the victory conditions to see if one side has won the battle. Now the phase markers are then put back into the cup, and play continues. Now let's talk about unit movement. Now when a formation's movement phase marker is drawn, all the units belonging to that formation and of that color can move. No other units on either side can move during that formation's movement phase. Also note that these units cannot combat at the end of their movement phase. All combat occurs when a particular side draws a combat marker. Now, some formations have 2 movement phase markers, and these are only used to improve the odds of moving earlier in a turn. Thus, the formation gets to move when the first movement marker is drawn. However, it does not get to move again when the second marker is drawn. So each unit may move up to its movement point allowance printed on the counter, and it costs a certain number of movement points to move across each type of terrain on the map, and you can refer to the terrain effects chart to see how many movement points it costs to enter a hex of a particular terrain. Now, hex-side terrain such as streams and creeks can also add to the hex terrain cost to enter a hex. Now, if a unit enters a hex by crossing a hex side that's also crossed by a road or a track, then the unit ignores the normal cost of all hex and hex side of that original terrain and pays the road track cost instead. Now, during its movement phase, a unit can always move 1 hex, regardless of movement point cost, as long as it doesn't enter or cross any prohibited terrain. And these include rivers, which no units can enter, rough terrain, which artillery and cavalry units are prohibited from entering, and finally swamps, which artillery units are prohibited from entering. Now, a road or a track can't be used to enter a hex that's already stacked to a limit, and the stacking limit is 2 units. And in this case, units wishing to move through the hex have to pay the normal movement point cost to enter that hex. Also, units have to stop whenever they enter an enemy zone of control, which is the 6 hexes surrounding an enemy unit. Let's talk about stacking. Now, any number of units can move through a single hex during an operations segment, but no more than 2 units of any type can ever voluntarily end their movement stacked in the same hex. However, if a unit's forced to retreat from combat and it has no other choices of hexes to move into due to the location of enemy units, it can stack with the 2 units. However, it must move out of that hex as soon as possible. Now, these units that are stacked in a hex in excess of the stacking unit can't attack, and they don't count when determining the hex's defense strength. However, the overstacked units do suffer the full effects of any combat result applied against them, for instance, step losses, retreats, and morale checks. And units that move off the map for any reason are simply eliminated. Now, zones of control consist of the 6 hexes surrounding a unit. However, they don't extend across river hexes or fortified hexes. And a moving unit that enters an enemy zone of control immediately stops moving, and it can't move any further during the movement phase. Now, a unit that begins its movement phase in an enemy zone of control can move out of it, provided that it doesn't enter another enemy zone of control during that movement phase. So a unit can't leave one enemy zone of control and move into another in the same movement turn. And also note that friendly zones of control don't negate enemy zones of control. Thus, if a unit's surrounded by enemy zones of control, but adjacent to a friendly unit, it can't move through that friendly unit's hex. Now, enemy zones of control don't affect units in the cases of advances and retreats, and we'll talk about that when we talk specifically about those 2 details. Now, combat's a little different than most standard war games. When a Union or Confederate combat phase marker is drawn during the operation segments, that side immediately conducts all of its combat phase. And all units in an enemy zone of control have to attack, and they must account for attacking all enemy units that are also in their zone of control. And no unit can attack or be attacked more than once per combat phase. Now, all units attacking the same group of enemy units can combine their attack strengths into a single attack, and units located in different hexes can combine to attack the same target. However, units stacked in the same hex can also separate their attacks and attack enemy units located in different hexes. Now, enemy units stacked together in a hex have to be attacked as a group. Now, this game allows the attacker to make an automatic retreat. And sometimes you'll have a case where an attacker won't want to go through with a certain attack because it's almost suicidal. Therefore, the attacker can choose to automatically lose a combat, but without taking any casualties. They simply announce before any combats are resolved that they're conducting an automatic retreat, and they retreat that entire stack of attacking units 1 hex. Now, the defender can then advance 1 hex into the retreating unit's vacant hex, and then the original attacking unit can then retreat again another hex to get out of the defender's zone of control. In other words, units that are conducting automatic retreats must, if possible, continue retreating until they're no longer in an enemy zone of control. Now, a unit that has an attack strength of 0 must conduct an automatic retreat if it's the only attacking unit involved in a particular attack. Now, after the other quote-unquote attacking units conduct their automatic retreat, but before defending units get to advance, any bombarding artillery in range may make an attack. So this allows the attacking player to conduct an automatic retreat with only some of their units in the zone of control of a particular enemy stack, and it permits the rest of their armies to continue to attack. Now, to resolve combat, you divide the total attack strength of all units that are attacking the same hex by the total defense strength of all enemy units located in that hex, and you express the result as a ratio, and like most games, you round the fractions down in favor of the defender. Now, initial combat odds of less than 1 to 4 are treated as 1 to 4, and those of greater than 6 to 1 are treated as 6 to 1. You then find the column corresponding to the initial combat odds ratio on the combat results table, and you shift the odds a number of odd ratio columns to the left or right. This can be dictated by a number of factors. The first is terrain. Now, the hex terrain type in the defender's hex causes the odds ratio to shift to the right or left as indicated on the terrain effects chart. And if a defending units occupy 2 or more hexes containing different types of hex terrain, use the terrain type that causes the greatest number of column shifts to the left. That is, those which are most beneficial to the defender. Now, hex side terrain types between the attacker and the defender can also cause the odds ratio to shift, as indicated on the terrain effects chart, but only if all attacking units are attacking across hex side terrain. And importantly, note that column shifts for hex side terrain are cumulative with those for the hex terrain. For example, a 3 to 1 attack against a unit located in woods terrain would be shifted 1 column to the left, becoming a 2 to 1 attack. Now, if the attack was also mounted across a stream, the odds would be shifted another column to the left, yielding a final combat odds ratio of 1 to 1. Now, if all of the hexes surrounding all attacking units contain enemy units or their zones of control, the odds ratio is shifted 1 column to the left. And if all of the hexes surrounding all defending units contain enemy units or their zones of control, the odds ratio is shifted 1 column to the right. Now, it's not inconceivable that both sides in a combat could be totally surrounded, causing simultaneous column shifts that would simply cancel each other out. Now, while all applicable column shifts are added together to yield a total column shift, this total column shift in either direction can never be greater than 3. After you've determined the column, you choose the morale ratings for each side. Now, the attacking player declares which of their unit will supply the morale rating to modify their attack, and this must obviously correspond to the morale of at least one of their units that's involved in the combat. Now, once the attacker has declared their morale rating, the defender does the same, likewise choosing from among their units involved in the combat. Now then, both the attacker and defender roll a d6, and morale ratings are added to the die roll for both of the combatants to give a final result on the CRT for both the attacker and the defender. Now there are 3 possible combat results. There's no effect, which is the dashes. There's a number by itself, and that means you lose the number of steps and conduct a morale check for each surviving unit, and each unit that fails its morale check retreats 1 hex. And finally, there's a number and an R, and this means you lose the number of steps and retreat each surviving unit 1 hex. You then conduct a morale check for each retreated unit. If they fail, that unit retreats another hex. Now, the exception to this is bombarding artillery units that are firing from several hexes away, and they're never affected by negative combat results against them. They don't conduct mandatory retreats or morale checks, and the attacker cannot assign step losses to them. Now, this doesn't apply to artillery units that are fighting directly in the hex adjacent to the enemy. Now, both the attacker and defender resolve combat simultaneously, but combat results are applied to the defender before they're applied to the attacker. And for both sides, you observe the following steps. First, you apply the step losses, and the first step loss has to be applied to the unit whose morale rating was used in the battle. And any remaining step losses can be assigned in any way by that owning player. To implement a step loss, you can do one of 3 things. You can flip a 2-step unit so that its back or reduced strength is face up. You can eliminate a 2-step unit that's been flipped earlier, or you can eliminate a 1-step unit. Next, you conduct the mandatory retreats, and if a combat result includes an R, the unit must retreat each of their surviving units. You conduct morale checks, and if any of the units suffered a step loss, then the player must conduct a morale check for each of the units that participate in the combat. If a unit fails its morale check, it retreats 1 hex. So note that a unit can retreat 2 hexes as a result of combat, 1 hex due to the mandatory retreat, and another due to the failed morale check. Finally, you can conduct any voluntary retreats as a defender, and the defender does have the option to retreat all or some of their units which have been attacked but weren't forced to retreat for any reason. Now a little note on morale checks. Morale checks simply involve rolling a die, adding the unit's morale rating, and checking to see if it passes or fails on the morale chart. A couple notes on the retreat. If a unit retreats into a hex that's attacked later in the same combat round that it's retreated, its defense strength is not added to the other units in that hex, but it can still suffer from the adverse combat results. Also, units can never retreat into enemy-occupied hexes, prohibited terrain, or hexes that are in an enemy zone of control that are not occupied by a friendly unit. Now, if a retreating unit is forced into an enemy zone of control not occupied by a friendly unit, it immediately makes another morale check. And if it passes, it suffers no ill effects, and it simply continues to retreat until it's out of that enemy zone of control. However, if the unit fails, it immediately suffers a step loss, though in this case it doesn't have to retreat any further. Now, during retreats, friendly units can overstack with other friendly units, and we talked about the results of this previously. They add to the stack, they can't attack with that stack, but they take damage with the stack if attacked, and finally they have to move out of the overstack as soon as possible. Now, there's 2 situations in the game where a unit can advance. An attacking unit can advance if all defending units that participate in a combat have been either eliminated or forced to retreat. And obviously, if the attacking unit is itself required to retreat as a result of combat, it can't advance. And a defending unit can advance if the attacking unit retreats from an adjacent hex as a result of an automatic retreat. Now, only 1 unit of the victorious stack can advance, and it can only advance into the first vacated hex. And this doesn't cost movement, and enemy zones of control don't affect this movement. Artillery units are never able to advance. And speaking of artillery units, now while artillery units can attack and defend against enemy units in adjacent hexes, just like infantry or cavalry units, they can also bombard enemy units that are up to 4 hexes away, as long as they have a line of sight. Artillery units can't bombard if they've retreated that phase or they're in an enemy zone of control. As I said, artillery units have a range of 4 hexes, but if a bombarding artillery unit is firing at a range of greater than 1 hex, their total attack strength is reduced by 1/2, and that's rounded down. Thus, an artillery unit with a printed attack strength of 1 can't bombard by itself, since its attack strength would be reduced to 0. Now, as an example, if 2 artillery units with an attack strength of 2 and 3 were bombarding a target 2 hexes away, their effective attack strength would be reduced to 2, 1/2 of 5 rounded down. Now, in order to bombard, an artillery unit has to have a clear line of sight to the target hex. And the line of sight is traced as a straight line from the center of the bombarding artillery unit's hex to the center of the target hex. And remember that each hex contains only one type of hex terrain. Therefore, completely ignore all hex terrain symbols that spill over into a hex, and assume that the entire hex contains the terrain type that covers most of that area. Now, if a line of sight crosses blocking terrain, the line of sight's blocked, and the artillery unit can't bombard the target hex. If the line of sight runs exactly along a hex side between two hexes, one of which consists of blocking terrain and another which does not, then the line of sight is not blocked. Now, in the Shiloh campaign, you're going to have a lot of times where artillery are firing from one tree line across a field onto another tree line. And as a house rule, I say that those units in the opposing tree line are within the attacker's line of sight. Now, the types of blocking terrain include towns, embankments, woods, hills. But unlike other war games, friendly and enemy units don't block line of sight. A bombarding artillery can always just fire over hexes containing the friendly or enemy units. Now, bombarding artillery units and boats can attack across river hexes. However, all other unit types are prohibited from attacking across rivers. Now, there are two ways in which an artillery unit can bombard. There's the bombardment attack, and there's a combined attack. And a bombardment attack is an attack in which a bombarding artillery is the sole attacking force. And it can only be made against single enemy-occupied hexes, and the initial combat odds ratio has to be at least 1-4. And this attack is resolved normally, except that the defender doesn't roll a dice. Consequently, the bombarding artillery units never suffer any combat results. Now, the combat odds column shifts for streams, creeks, and rivers are ignored when conducting bombardment attacks. However, combat odd column shifts for all other types of hex sides and hex-type terrains apply normally to the bombardment attack. So in this case, an artillery is firing across a field at another artillery that's in the tree line. What I say is that the target units are in line of sight. However, I do give them the one column shift for being in the woods. Bombarding artillery can also be involved in combining attacks, and these are where they can join an attack that involves other friendly units that are in the zone of control of the attack. Now, these combined attacks are resolved normally, except the bombarding artillery units are completely immune to all combat results. Furthermore, the attacker must use the morale rating of one of the units actually adjacent to the defending unit to resolve the attack, and they can't use that of the bombarding artillery. Now, reinforcements are handled like most standard war games. At the beginning of play, you place all your reinforcing units and phase markers on the game's turn record in the spaces corresponding to the turns on which they'll enter. Each reinforcing unit's entry hex or hexes are printed on the front of the playing piece in the upper right-hand corner, as well as on the turn record track. And these correspond to letters that are printed on the map that designate entry hexes. Now, reinforcements can enter the map in a hex that's in an enemy zone of control, but they can't enter in an enemy-occupied hex. And if their entry hex is blocked, then the reinforcing units must enter the map on whichever unblocked hex is closest to the original hex. Now, an exception to this in the Shiloh game is that the Union reinforcements can only enter at their printed entry hex, and if it's blocked, they can't enter. Now, in night turns, units can move, however, they can't move into enemy zones of control, though they can leave them, and there's also no combat phase during the night. We are here with the Battle of Shiloh across 5 Aprils. So we have it, and it is April, so we'll get this up so that it'll be up this weekend and for the anniversary of the battle. And let's get started here. First thing we're going to do is pull up our turn record track and open our chit cup and dump our chits in. Enough of that chit. Okay, and then you can notice here that I think these are all on A. Yeah, entry level A. Now I'm going to put these guys around here and they will be stacked. So they're going to be stacked a little overstacked, but that's okay. Got our Union forces down here. Real quick tour of the battlefield. Union forces are arrayed between here and Pittsburgh Landing, which is down over here on the lower left. Not a real big map. Okay, so we can start by pulling our chits. That's how we start the game. And we start with Bragg's 2nd Corps. And they come in on A. So we'll get them moved over here. Now I'm going to move these guys up here just for now. Just temporarily. And we're going to start with the most powerful, strongest units here. Oh, come on. So these two are going to stack here, and we'll start with them. And we are just going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're going to go down the road here. It's half a movement point per hex for that. And I think we're going to try to hit Sherman just as quick as we can. We'll follow up with another one of Bragg's boys. Withers, and we are just going to make a little conga line here. Okay, and then we go to the next one. Is going to be Hardy's 3rd Corps. And I think I'm going to move Hardy down and around to the east here. I guess the bottom of the map is east. So we'll start here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we will follow here. Now, the one thing about this that I think I have an issue with is the rules really don't do a great job with... well, they don't do a great job with artillery and cavalry, so that's one of the weaknesses of this game. I do like the ease of play here. I think Civil War games tend to be a little bit overwrought sometimes. Again, I think it's kind of a vestige of Berg and his terrible swift sword system, which isn't a bad system. It's just, in fact, I think it's a rather ingenious system, but I think it's just a little overdone. And I think Civil War games have kind of followed that trend over the years. I'm still looking for kind of a medium complexity Civil War games that do the battles. If you can suggest any, let me know out there. Okay, we pulled the combat chit, and nobody's in a zone of control, so that doesn't matter. And then we go to Hardy's 3rd Corps. Now, the Union can't do anything. They have no chits, so they can't do anything. So they just have to stand there, and basically they're on the defensive for the next few turns. Okay, that's turn 1. I guess I can move my turn marker. Let's go to game turn 2. We're going to do the same thing here. Move him into the chit cup. Well, come back here. Move him down here, and then Cheatham is over here. And we can refill our cup. Now everybody's good to go. Okay, we've got reinforcements coming here. We've got these 2 corps here. And we are ready to go into turn 2. And again, we start with Bragg. So I think Bragg's going to move. He's going to move into this zone of control. 1, 2, and we'll move here. 1, 2, and then 3, 4. There. And then 1, 2. Now he can move here, and he's going to be this artillery is going to be able to fire across this field. So that'll help out Bragg's units and his great unibrow. Okay. Now we can move Polk's groups in, Polk's Corps. And we're going to go, where am I going to move Polk? Now I've got 2 options down here. I can try to go, what I really need to try to do is reach Snake Creek Bridge and get it, if I can get to Snake Creek Bridge, I can win this. Pittsburgh Landing's going to be, I'm going to have those boats shooting at me, so let's try. There's no roads. Is there a road? Yeah, but that's way out. I could, if I had a cavalry unit, I think I could go block that, but let's just figure out what we're going to do. I guess we'll kind of move towards the center here. Maybe we can bring the 1st Corps down through the West Corinth Road and then down this way. So we'll try that. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and 4. We will just bring this column in. Okay. Okay, we have combat. So, yeah, we're not able to get these guys into combat like I wanted to, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and bring our combat chart up. Now, a couple things about combat. Now, this is in the first turns of the game, so there's a 2 shift to the right on the attacks from the Confederates. They gain that because of their surprise bonus. So these guys are going to go against Buckland. I'll say these guys go against Ruggles, or against Hildebrandt, and this guys will go against Sherman's artillery. Let's see, this is 10 to 5, this is 10 to 5. I'm going to try to wipe out that Sherman artillery, so we'll just fire on those, get them out of the way. So 2 to 1 odds. Now, the 2 to 1 odds here for Gibson against Buckland is going to go to 4 to 1 because of the surprise, but the guys at Shiloh Church, they're in the woods and they're beyond a creek. So that's going to nullify that, making it it's going to go from 4 to 1, make it behind a creek, 3 to 1, make it behind in the woods, 2 to 1. So 2 to 1 odds. And let's go ahead and resolve that. And both sides will roll. Oh, and then we've got our morale. And Buckland will have a -1. So the Union will be fighting at a -1. Okay, so we roll. The Confederacy gets on a 2 to 1, they get a 2, so that's nothing. And then a 4 minus 1 is a 3 on a 2 to 1, so that's 1. So these guys take a step loss, and then they do a morale check. Now this does morale checks automatically, which is kind of nice. So I'm just going to use that. They fail, so Ruggles will pull back 1. Okay, that's the first combat of the game. Now, we got Ruggles, or Pond, I guess this was Gibson. This is Pond, and Pond is doing 2 to 1. And again, it's +1, -1, so we roll a 6. Okay, 2 to 1 with a 6 is a 2R. So this guy goes step loss 1, step loss 2, and he's at the graveyard. So he's gone and retreated. However, he does get a fight back with a 1, and 2 to 1 with a 1 is nothing. So this guy goes to the graveyard. So we will send him there. Does he go there? Yep, there he is. Okay. Now we have a 7 to 5. This guy is attacking at a... Anderson is attacking Sherman with a 7, 3 plus 4. Sherman's a 5, so that's 1 to 1. But I've got these two also. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 to 5. Still 1 to 1 odds. And Sherman's at a -1. Oh, the other thing is, let's see. They're not behind a stream, and they are not in the woods, so I don't get those terrain bonuses. So that would be 1 to 1, and we're going to shift it 2 to the right because of the surprise bonus. So 3 to 1 odds, and 3 to 1 with a 2. So first of all, the defender takes a step loss, and they will retreat, and then they'll do a morale check. So retreat 1, they make a morale check, and they fail. So, and I got those little morale checks up there. Now, they fought back at a 6, -1, or a 5. So 3 to 1 with a 5 is a 1. So this guy will move back and take a step loss. And, oh, we got to see if he has to make a morale check. Morale check, passes. Okay, so he stays there. And let me grab my coffee here. Okay. Now, that's it. That's the entire combat. So we can close that. Now we go to our terrain effects chart. Or no, not terrain chart. The chit pull cup. Okay. This is the second time I've pulled Bragg, and he is he's already moved, so that I can't do anything with him. Yeah, first time I played this, I thought they could move twice, and they just cleaned the Union's clock on that. Okay, so the first corps has already done its thing, and now we can move Hardy, and he's going to move down here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we'll move our artillery here. Now I can't attack Prentice because I'm not in the combat phase. And we pull 3rd Corps, refill the cup, and we can move to turn 3. Now this will bring in the reserves. And these guys will come in here on entry A. Is that Nathan Bedford? That's under Forest. Okay. And we go to turn 3 here. We pull Bragg. Bragg will again attack. I don't think I'm going to go 1, 2. Well, I just really need to hit just as hard as I can before the Union gets out. I think I'll go ahead and go 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. I'll move that artillery into place. I think I'll let the 1st Corps take care of Peabody down here. Now, if he attacks, that's at 3 to 5 odds. That's not the best. 1, 2, 3, 4. I will go here, pull back here, and go 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Now, hopefully, I won't pull the attack. Okay, good. So these guys can move into place, and 1, 2, 3, artillery. Artillery can't do a lot in this game. Okay, and then Hardy is in place here. I should have brought those guns. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. There we go. Okay. Can't do much else. And now we can go to combat. Okay, this time I'm at 1-to-1 odds. And I should have brought this guy here. Yeah, it wouldn't have changed anything because 8 to 5 and 5 to 5 are the same. So, okay, so he's at 5 to 5. So 1-to-1 odds, +2 for the surprise, -2 for the terrain. So it stays 1-to-1 odds. And we get a 3 and a 5 reduced to a 4. So 1-to-1 with a 3 is going to be a 1. He makes a step loss and a morale check, which he fails. And then he got a 5 - 1 is a 4. So a 1-to-1 at 4 is a 1 step loss. He goes back 1, makes a morale check, and passes. So he stays right there for Cladden. Okay, right here we have a 5, 10 to 3. So 10 to 3 would be 3-to-1 odds. That would be 5-to-1 with the surprise, -1. One shift to the left for the terrain. So 4-to-1 odds. We got a 5 and a 2. This would be a 2 because of the morale. So 4-to-1 with a 5 is 2R. That's going to eliminate him. And 2 at 5-to-1 is nothing. And I'm going to have him move into the unoccupied space. He's going to advance after combat. Because you need really every hex you can in this game, so, for the Confederates to do. Okay, over here we have Stewart and Stevens. That's 8. And then Russell and Johnson, 12, 16, 17 to 7. So 2-to-1 plus 2 columns. A 2-column shift is 4 to 1 minus a 1 column shift is a 3 to 1. And we roll. Is there any morale? Nope. Nope. Okay. So 3 to 1 with a 4 is going to be a 1 step loss. We pull back 1 and we make a morale check. And we got a pass. Okay, so he stays put. And then 3 to 1 with a 5. It's going to be 1 here. I'll just take Cheatham. And he will take the step loss and make a morale check. And fails, so he's back 1. And then I'm going to have Russell move into the hex. And then finally we've got down here, I've got Wood and Hindman and Cleburne. 5, 10, 17 to 9. So 1 to 1. And we roll, and they get a 1, so that's not going to do anything. Now this would be at 2 to 1 odds because of on the odds table. So nothing there. And then a 5 at 2 to 1 is a 1R. Okay, so Hildebrand will take the step loss and do a morale check and fails and goes back 1. Okay. I think that's going to be it for the turn. I don't think there's anything else. I don't think anybody else can move. Oh, we still got those guys up here. The boys in orange. Nothing there. We'll go here, here. Okay, now the reserves can come in. And I am going to try this. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll move 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, I'm going to go here. And then, oops, I don't know if I can go that far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I can. 6. And then, was it? I think 4 was right here. And 3. There we go. Okay. They've moved into place. I'm gonna try to push this guy out of the way and then get over here if I can with that cavalry unit. Maybe that can save the day. Don't think there's much else. Okay, refill the cup, and that's the end of turn. We go to turn 4, and nothing that I'm not playing any optional rules, so we'll see what the Union can do, or the Confederacy. Okay, we are going to go back here, and I'm going to push forward here. 1, 2, 1, 2. Oh. 3, 4. Okay, and then 1, 2, 3. We'll go here with the reserves. Shoot. I was kind of hoping I could have, if I would have had that combat, get this guy's out of the way, then I could have moved my reserve corps through, but I can't do that. Okay, which slows them down a turn. I don't know, the chip puzzle system's kind of cool on this. I'm coming around on it. I've read a lot of people online don't like it, but I think it's it works fairly well. Okay, and party down here. This is working out pretty well because I'm able to pull. The problem is if you pull that combat chit early in the turn, you're usually in trouble. And so far I've been pretty lucky. Okay, there it is. And that'll be pretty much turn 2. So let's do our combats. Now here I've got 6 to 5, so 1 to 1 odds. I'm not going to count that. I'm going to count this as woods. So 1-to-1 odds, and then I've got 2-to-1, 3-to-1, and then I bring it back to 2-to-1 because of the woods. So 2-to-1, and the union gets a -1. So 4-to-4. 2-to-1 for 1R. So step loss, morale check fails. So he goes back 2. Okay, and then a 4. 2-to-1 with a 4 is a 1. I will give him a step loss, make some morale check. Passes, so these guys stay in place, and I will move into that hex. Advance before combat. Okay, here we've got a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-to-3. So 3-to-1 odds. +2 is 5-to-1, -1 shift is 4-to-1 odds. Okay, so I've got a 3, and this is a 5. So 4-to-1 with a 3 is going to reduce. Is going to send him to the graveyard, but he gets a 5. 4-to-1 with a 5 is a 1. I'm going to let the artillery take that. Step loss, morale check, and he passes. So he's there, and we will move in. And we've attained Sherman's headquarters. We are rolling over the Yankees. 10-to-5. Okay, 10-to-5. 2-to-1 odds, so that's going to be 4-to-1. And 4-to-1 with a 2 is a 2, or 4-to-1 with a 2 is a 1R. So step loss, we make a morale check. Fails, so he's back 2. And then a 4. 4-to-1, 4, nothing. Okay, so nothing occurs there. And then over here, we've got a 6, 10, 14-to-6, 2-to-1. It's across the stream and in the woods, so that'll pretty much nullifies the surprise advantage. So we're strictly at a 2-to-1 odds, and we get a 4 and a 5. So 1R, this guy's eliminated. But with a 5, 2-to-1 with a 5 is going to be a 1R. I'll let this guy take it. Step loss, so we make a morale check. He passes, so he just goes back 1. Okay. And then down here against Prentice, we've got Hindman and Cleburne. 10, 15, 19-to-9. So 2-to-1 odds, 4-to-1, and then bring it back 1. It's 3-to-1. It's going to be 3-to-1 odds here because of the woods. So 3-to-1, we roll a 2 and a 1. So 3-to-1 with a 2 is going to cause 1. And I'll let this guy take it. And you know what? I think the thing I'm doing wrong here is that this should apply. These morale checks should apply to the whole stack. So let's make a morale check. That's not real clear. So they pass. So they just go back. Let's see. No, they don't go back at all, because if they lose 1 step, and they don't have to retreat because they made the morale check. So, and yeah, that applies to stacks, not individuals. I've been just doing it for the individual, so that's kind of messed up. That's it for combat. We pull another chit, shouldn't matter, and that's the end of turn. We move our turn marker 1 more. So far, the Confederacy looks pretty cohesive. They've taken some losses, but they're hanging together there. So let's start with the next turn, and we will move. I think what I'm going to try to do, yeah, let's keep attacking, because the reason being is that I got to take advantage of that surprise that I've got. So we will move all of Bragg's guys in, First corps, they can go right down the middle here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, he doesn't. Okay. They're kind of slow, but they're getting there. And the reserves. I forgot to fight with the reserves. Oh, well. They lost their opportunity here. And the reserves. And Hardy, or Bragg. Okay, now we're in a combat phase. And so far, everybody's in a good place there. So we'll start here with... oh, those guys were my... I forgot to move these guys. Okay. 2, 4. There. Okay. Hopefully that didn't confuse everybody. But yeah, I forgot to move those guys. Can't tell my colors today. We'll start with... We'll just work our way down here. We've got 4 to 3. So that's going to be 1-to-1 odds. And we're going to add 1 because of the surprise. And add 2, take away 1. So... 2-to-1 odds. Come on, cat. Get up here. Come on, buddy. Okay. Oh, you're getting fat. You're too fat. I'm lazy. Okay, 5 to 6. Now that's going to be 5 and 5 because of the morale of McDowell. So 2-to-1 5 is 1 R. That's going to send him to the graveyard. And then 2-to-1 5 here's a 1 R. So we're going to have this guy's going to go to the graveyard, and then this guy is going to make he's going to go back 1 and make a morale check, and he passes. Up here we say he passes. Okay. Down here. Now these guys are in the open, so we've got 3, 6, 9 to 10. So 1 to 2 odds. Adding our... Oh, here we got this guy. Okay, 3, 6, 9, 14 to 10. So 1-to-1 odds, but that goes to 3-to-1. He's not protected, so straight up 3-to-1 odds. A 2. So these guys take 1. And they go make a morale check, which they fail, so they move back. I'll move into place, and they had a 3. The Union rolled a 3 at 3-to-1, 3, nothing. Okay, here we've got a 5 to 4. They're not across the stream, so 1-to-1, and this is actually going to be 2-to-1 when you do all the mathematical finagling. And 3 and 3, so 2-to-1, 3. This guy takes 1. That's going to send him to the graveyard. But in fighting back at 2-to-1, 3 here, this guy takes 1. So he takes a step loss, makes a morale check, and fails, so he goes back 1. Okay, finally over here, we got 4 and 5 is 9, and 10 is 19. To 8, so 2-to-1 odds, and this is going to be and then that'd be at 3-to-1 because of everything. So 3-to-1 6, 3-to-1 6 is a 2R. So these guys take a 2-step loss. Okay, there's 1 step. That's graveyard, and then this guy takes a step loss. And they move back, and they make a morale check, and they get a 4, or they pass, so they stay put. And then they're fighting back with a 3, 2-to-1 with a 3, so these guys take 1. I will take it with the, I'll take it over here. And make a morale check, and fails, so they go back 1. Yeah, I think artillery aren't that useful in this game, so I usually take my take my step losses out of those. And I can't move into a hex. Well, I think I can move into a hex with this guy. So we'll do that. Now, do I go down here? I don't know. I think everybody's gone that can go. So let's check our chit cup. Nothing. Everybody's gone, so I think we're done for we're done for the turn. Okay, refill the cup. We go to our turn marker, and the Union can finally go. They can't just sit there like sitting ducks. So pull the chit cup up. Add our Union guys. I think that's this guy. This guy, Sherman. He's a handsome man, isn't he? And let's close everything. Okay, the Union can finally go. How does the Union position look? Well, this is about pretty historically accurate. They've been moved back quite a bit. So let's go to the chit cup and pull our first chit, and we get Sherman. Now, there's one problem is Sherman just has Stuart down here. That's the only piece he has left. So I'm going to try to bring him up to support Miller. 1, 2, 3. We're going to pull here. And we're going to make the Confederacy fight for every inch. Okay. We go to the Confederate combat phase. Now, problem down here is that I can't really move up against anybody. So I've got 7 to 5. That's 1-to-1 odds. Oh, I forgot to add that morale. Okay, back again, huh, cat? I got a bothersome cat here. So this is going to be 2-to-1 odds right here with a +1. So 2-to-1 with a 2, nothing. Confederacy though, they're gonna hit Cleburne. So 2-to-1 with a 6 is a 1R. We reduce him step loss. Ouch. And then we make a morale check, and they pass. So they only go back 1. I don't think I'll move into that hex. I don't think I'll advance. Okay. Let's see what we got. Up here we've got a 5 to 7. Now I should have pulled back. That's okay. 1 to 2 odds, but let's see. 1 to 2. We add 2, so that's 2-to-1 -1. So 1-to-1 odds. It's going to come at 1-to-1 odds. And we roll, and we get a 4 right here. So 1-to-1 with a 4 is going to cause 1 point of damage, or 1 step loss. We'll pull this guy, and they'll make a see if they pass their morale check. They pass, so they stay put. And then the Union rolled a 6, so 1-to-1 with a 6 is a 2R. That's going to eliminate this guy. Okay, any more else? Nobody else is there. Yeah, so not a great point for the Confederacy. Getting that Confederate combat phase was not lucky. So okay, Second Corps. So now we're just going to have to push. One, 2, 3. We'll push this guy and this guy. And then the reserves will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're going to go rushing across Crescent Field. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold on a second. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we've already pulled that one for Hardy. First Corps. 1, 2, 3, 4. First Corps. Okay, there's Bragg. Bragg will keep fighting here. And then this guy, he got like left alone up here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, the 4th. We need to set up a... We really need to use terrain as defensively as possible. That's going to be a big thing here. So, here, and man, I'd like to 2, 3, 4 here, I guess. And then we're going to go with the 2nd Division. Pull them up. I need to get some guys up here. 1, 2, 3. Four. Anybody else? Nope. Okay. Let's see, another chip pull. This guy will pull back. And the reserves, they've moved. Okay. 1st Division, the green guys. Color coding is nice on this. And I'm going to move this guy up here. And then Union combat phase. So the Union's done pretty well this turn. Okay, so he's got a 5 to 10, 1 to 2 odds. -1. Well, we might be able to pull this off. So 5 to 10, 1 to 2 odds, and he's in the woods. So the Confederates are in the woods. So that's going to be 1 to 3 odds, and he gets a 1. 1 to 3 with a 1 is nothing, and then the Confederates get a 6. Well, that was not good. So 1 to 3 with a 6 is going to eliminate this guy. Okay, we have a 3 to 6, so 2 to 1. He's in the open, so that's a straight up 2 to 1. And we get a 1, nothing, and then the Confederates get a 5. Or, yeah. 1 to 2, that's what I meant. 1 to 2, and 1 to 2 with a 5 is a 1R, so he's going to take a graveyard. This guy will move back, make a morale check, passes, so he stays put. And these guys can't advance because they're artillery. So I think that's everything there. We've got a 5 to 5, so 1 to 2 odds here. And I rolled a 1. Ugh. 1 to 2 with a 1, nothing, and then the Confederacy gets a 4 against Johnston. 1 to 2 with a 4 is a 1R, so he takes a hit, takes a step loss, morale check, fails, so he has to go back 2. And then here we've got a 7 to 10, 1 to 2, across the stream, so 4. Well, that's a 1 to 2. That'd be 1 to 3 with a 4, nothing, and then a 1. So 1 to 3. Oh well, he takes a hit. So And I forgot that -1. Now, then these guys will have to see if they make a morale check, which they failed. So they're pushed back 2. He can push across the stream with a guy. This guy could have pushed across the stream too, so I'll say what it does. And that is it. Well, that was the combat wasn't fortunate. They kind of lost a little bit of advantage there. And then the third quarter. Now we refill the cup. And we go to this point, and the surprise is now over for the Confederacy. So they don't get that 2-column shift to the left anymore. So things are going to get a lot harder. So I can start drawing for the Union here. The Union have a combat phase. Well, that's not so good because, as you can see, there's no Union movement, or there's no Union units within any enemy zones of control. So essentially, they've wasted a combat. I don't know if they've wasted it. Really, we just need to move them into position here. Okay, we're back to Bragg and his boys. I'm going to move here. 1, 2, 3. We're going to... Oh, Confederate combat already, too. Well, this makes a wasted turn for everybody. We've only got 1 combat here. Oh, and this Bragg guy could have gone, too. Let's go ahead and move him. 1, 2, 3, 4. There. I'm bad about moving guys out of turn here. You've probably noticed that. Had some complaints, so sorry. Let's see. We're going to go against McClernand with Gibson, Gladden, 2nd Corps, Ruggles, and Withers. Okay, or the artillery under those guys. Now, they can fire over the stream fine. This guy's got no... this artillery here, this has no protection, so we've got 6 points and 9 points to 3, so 3-to-1 odds. Now, there's no more surprise bonus anymore. That's pretty much just a straight 3-to-1. We roll a 4 at 3-to-1, and that's going to be a 1R, and the artillery fires back at a 5, so that's a 1. Okay. So this guy is pretty much gone, and then these guys take a point, so we can send him to the graveyard, and then we see if he makes a morale check, which he fails, so he goes back 1. Okay. And that's it. That's all then we just have some movement. So 2nd Corps gets to move. 1, 2. Hold on a second. 1, 2, 3. Now these streams here. I got to check something here. I think I've been running these streams wrong. Let's check. TEC. Creeks are +2, streams are +1. So I've been messing up. I guess all of these creeks are here. They should be +1. And then the streams I've been crossing like they're 1, but they should be 2. So that was an error. But we'll go 1, 2, 3. And then we'll go 2, 4. I have 2. And there. And then we go, 2nd Corps is already gone. Okay, 4th Division. Now, Cheatham's come across the stream. I need to get someplace in the woods, though, where I'm a little bit more protected. And we'll go 2, 4 there. Okay. 1st Corps. 2, 1, 2. Okay, I can move into place there and there. 2nd Division. So yeah, I guess I should have made those streams tougher. Although if you're on the battlefield, yeah, I don't know. None of the streams in the battlefield look like much. They just look like pretty much low places with a ditch. In reality, so I'll go with Mulberry Field there. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, if you ever get a chance to go to the battlefield, it's a pretty interesting place. We'll pull that guy back. And 6th Division. I think 6th Division is... Oh, he's still there. Okay. Okay, Reserve Corps can move 1. Now this should be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2. That should be 3, 4, 5, so they can't make it. 1, 2, 3. Nah, they can't go anywhere. He has the problem is he'll land there, so that doesn't help him any. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. No. Yeah, boy, that one little group here of Gibson is in the way. And Reserve Corps, nothing. Sherman has his one guy right here. Stuart. 1st Corps has moved. 1st Division has... Is 1st Division gone? Okay, 1st Division is gone. So I'm going to put this guy right here because all of those units are gone. So we won't have to pull those out just to make things a little smoother. And there's Hardy. Okay. And this place, I can also check that to a Confederate control. Now, that's the end of the turn. We go to turn 8. And we'll start pulling. We can refill our cup. So the Reserve Corps go first. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. They'll go here. Okay, 2nd Division gonna stay here. I'll reinforce there. Confederate combat. Okay, we'll start over here with Cleburne. And now these guys have a clear line of fire here to Miller. He's on that into the wood edge, the edge of the woodlands there. So we've got 3, 9, 12, 17 to 9. So still 1-to-1 odds. And since this guy's in a woodland, actually that's at -1s. Or yeah, so that's going to be 1-to-2 odds. Morale is going to be -1 for the Union, +1 for the Confederacy. And we roll a 2, which that turns into a 3. So 1-to-2 at 3, nothing. And then a 5 -1 is a 4. 1-to-2 with a 4. So the Confederacy takes a point. And we'll do a step loss. And then we make a morale check at +1. And they fail. So they pull back 1. And that's the end of that combat. Okay, we go over here near the Hornet's Nest, and we've got a 4, 6, 11 to 9. So 1-to-1. Confederacy has a morale of 0, and the Union has a morale of -1. So, oh, wait a second. Let me do this again here. 1, 2, 7, 9 to 9. So actually it's going to be 1-to-2 odds because they're in the woods. Okay, 1-to-2. And it's a 6 and a 5. So 1-to-2 at 6 is 1R. And we will flip him. And then they have to retreat. Let's check. They passed their morale checks. So they have to go, they go back 1. And then the Union fought back at a 6 -1 is a 5. So 1-to-2, 5 is a 1R. And we'll do a step loss. And these guys have to retreat. And we do another morale check, and they pass. So they stay put. Okay, here, probably should have retreated before combat, but that's okay. We've got a 6 to 9. So it's already 1 to 2. They're in the woods, so that's 1 to 3 odds. And the Union's going to fight with a morale of -1. So 1 to 3 with a 1 is nothing. And the Union got a 4. -1 is a 3. 2R. Okay, that's going to hurt. So we lose 2 steps. 1, whoops, and we'll send him to the graveyard. And he loses another step. And he goes back 1 and makes a morale check and passes. So he's okay. I could go into this... I think I'll stay put there because I've got a pretty good defensive position there. Excuse me. Let's close this out, and I think let's check. That's the combat phase. Nope, the Confederacy doesn't make any more. Okay, we go with the 6th Division. Stay put. 4th Division. In orange. Let's go ahead and move these guys up. First Corps, move back across the stream. 5th Division stays put. First Corps, nothing. Reserve Corps, already moved them. Okay, that's a Union combat phase. So we have a 5 to 5 or 1 to 1 or 1 to 2. And the Union's fighting at a -1. So Union gets a 3. Confederacy gets a 2 at 1 to 2 odds. So 3, nothing. And the Confederacy got a 2. Which is a point. So Sherman's guy will take a step loss, and then we roll a morale check. They pass, so they stay put. Over here, the Union has a 3 to 5. Now, I think they can fire on these guys, so that's a 3 to 5. Oh, okay. They should have pulled back, but that's okay. This is going to be deadly because they have to attack. So 3 to 5 is a 1 to 2 with a -1. Actually, oh, he's in. That's a not 1 to 2. That's a 1 to 3 because these guys are in the woods. So 1 to 3 -1. Let's roll it again here. 4. 1 to 3 with a 4. -1 is a 3. Nothing. And then the Union gets a 5. 1 to 3, 5. 3R. Okay, that's going to eliminate. Oh, I may eliminate everybody. This guy's going to take a step loss, and then these 2 step losses. So, and that sends them to the graveyard. I will move in, and then this guy has to move back 1, and he gets a makes morale check and fails and goes back another one. Okay, here we have a 5 to 4, so 1 to 1. That's in clear terrain, so 1 to 1 -1, so the Union gets a 4. 1 to 1, 4, so that's 1. That'll eliminate him. And 1 to 1 with a 1 is nothing, so these guys are gone. Okay, I think everybody's moved here that can move or combated, I guess. So let's go to our chit cup. 3rd Corps, has he moved? Nope, he has not moved. We'll move back into position here. And that'll cut off the retreat. Nothing. 2nd Corps. Oh, he hasn't moved yet. Okay, 1. Hold on. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 2nd Corps. Okay, we can move to the next turn. And this is turn 9. The gunboats show up. So we can put the gunboats. Now, the gunboats won't have unlike the real battle, the gunboats aren't going to do much in this. So we'll put them over here. They move 15, so they can move pretty much anywhere on the river. And we need to put these guys in into the cup. Okay, check anything else? Nope. Okay, it's 5 o'clock. Whoops. We're going to pull a chit, and we get the reserves now. 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's see, 6. Now, where can he go? 1, 2, 3. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6. Okay. 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. Okay. Actually, we'll move 2, 3, 4. 2, 3. He can't do much, but hold on. That's not where I want to be, because I want to be here. 1, 2, 3. I can't do that. 1. Yeah, we'll hold off. I don't think. Oh, and this poor guy. 1, 2, 3, 4. The gunboats. Well, they'll move over here by Pittsburgh Landing and just kind of guard it. Sherman is going to stay put. He can't really move. Reserves already moved. The Second Corps is going to stay put and fight. Or Third Corps, I'm sorry. Hardee's Third Corps. Second Corps. Okay, 6th Division's got to stay put. First Corps, they can move forward. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we're going to go here. 1, 2, 3. Now, the other thing I've forgotten is these guys can fire, but they only fire at 1/2. So that doesn't count as anything. So they don't add much. First Corps, 2nd Division. Just going to stay put. Okay, now it's a Confederate combat phase. So we start here with a 5 and a 7 is a... actually, it's a 6 and a 7 is a 13 to 14. So 1 to 2 odds. Straight up. We're going to go 1 to 2, and we roll, and the Confederacy gets a 1. So nothing, and the Union gets a 2, and that's going to be nothing, I think. 1 to 2 with a 2. Oh, it is a 1. Okay. So these guys are going to have to take a step loss. Actually, that's kind of a bad step loss. And then they're going to make a morale check. They fail, so they move back. And this guy's going to have to move back. Oh, we had that. I forgot to add the morale of the forest. Okay. That's okay. Actually, that saves him, because if we would have used forest, his morale check, he would have had to take the damage, and that would have knocked him out. So that's okay. Okay, Confederate fighting down here. We have a 5 and a 2 is a 7. Can't use the artillery. 7 to 2 is a going to be 3 to 1 odds, and the Union's going to be at -1. So 6 to 4. So that's easily going to, at 3 to 1, that's easily going to knock this guy out. but he got a 4 at 3 to 1. That's going to do 1 point of damage. Step loss, and we're going to make a morale check. He passes, so he stays put. And actually, I think he can move in because he didn't get to move. He didn't have to retreat. So, okay, and then finally over here we have a 9 and a 3, or 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 to 7, 2 to 1. This could be it for those guys. This Union. -1 on the Union morale. So we get a. I said 3 to 1. It should be 2 to 1 because of the woods. So 2 to 1 with a 6, and that's going to be enough to get rid of these. Now 2 to 1 with the 6 is going to be the Union had a morale of -1, so that's a 5. So 2 to 1 with a 5 is 1R. I will send him to the graveyard, and that's it. The Confederacy's doing pretty well here. They just took Cloud Field. And then we go to game turn 10. Now at this point, game turn 10, the 3rd Division is going to come in on B. So we didn't make it. Let's see, this is the 3rd with Lew Wallace. And we'll put him up here at Snake Creek Bridge. And then 4th Division comes in at C, which is Pittsburgh Landing. So we weren't able to make it down here fast enough to block the Union. If we would have that one turn, I think we could have possibly made it. The Confederacy has a pretty hard time. I've played this 6 or 7 times, and the Confederacy really has a hard time making victory conditions. Okay. Oh, and these guys, I got to dump them into the chit cup. Let's refill our cup. And where are you guys at? There we are. Okay. Everybody is in place. We've wiped out Sherman's group finally. And now we can go. We can pull chits. So we pull Davidson. Davidson's still active. I think what we'll do, 1, 2, no, we'll stay put there. We'll stay put there. We can defend. Actually, I'm going to defend from here. Yeah. We pull Braxton Bragg's 3rd Corps. And we're going to pull here. Don't have enough hit or points. 1. Okay. We're going to go with the reserves. Actually, with these guys, I'm going to go over here. And then I can pull up him. Oh, and then Braxton Bragg's guys. 1, 2, 3. Can't go across the river there. That creek. Okay, Army of the Ohio. And I want to move these guys 2, 4, 6, and I'm going to move him actually here and take a defensive stance. 2, 4. Let's see. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And 6th Division, I think, is gone. They got wiped out. Bragg again. First Corps. Here, here. Fifth Division is gone. I'll pull those out. Okay, Confederates get to move. So let's start here. We've got 10, 15, 16 to 14. So 1-to-1 odds. And that's a straight ahead 1-to-1. I'm going to go ahead and use Forrest's morale on this one. So +2 for the Confederacy. And they get an 8. Let's see, 1-to-1 odds with an 8 is a 2R. So that's going to take these guys. Now, step loss and step loss. Now, I think for retreating, they can retreat, but they lose a step. If I remember right, they lose a step if they retreat through an enemy zone of control. So sends him to the graveyard and moves him here. And these guys are going to move across. And then the Union did get a 6. Hold on, the Union got a 6 at, did I say 1-to-1 odds with the 6 was 1R. So Forrest has to take that. So they have to take the step loss because we use their morale. So that eliminates Forrest because they're only a 1-step unit. So, and then these guys can move. Okay, that in. Okay, now we move here with a 5. These 2, 5, 6, 7 to 5. So 1-to-1, and then that's going to shift. So that's going to shift to 1-to-2. Union's at a -1 for morale. So a 4 for the Confederacy at 1-to-2. That's 1, and a 1 for the Union. So nothing. So they have to take 1, which is a... That's going to send them to the graveyard. I'll move in. Okay, and then we've got a 1, 4 to 8. So 1-to-2, but he's also in the woods, so that's a 1-to-3. 1-to-3 with a 5 is a 1. So these guys will take 1. They make a morale check. And they fail, so they have to pull back. Okay, the Union got a 4 at 1-to-1. With a 4 is 1R, so we will take a step loss here, and these guys will make a morale check. And they fail, so they have to move back. Both sides move back. I think that's it for the Confederate attack. Okay, First Corps has already moved. Okay, Third Corps under Hardy. Has Hardy already moved? Nope. He needs to move too, because he needs to bring himself up to the battle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We can move there. Wait, 1, 2. No, they can't move there. Okay, now this guy though can go 1, 2, 3. Yeah, he can't go anywhere either. Okay, I guess that's all the further he can go. That's 3.5, and he couldn't make that, so, and he can't move there, so. And we go to the reserves. They've already moved. The gunboats are just futilely popping around the Tennessee River. And, okay, 3rd Division. We'll start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and this guy there. 4th Division. Is there any of the 4th Division left? There is not, so Herbert is gone. Okay, in the Union combat phase, there's no Union units in enemy zones of control, so they're good. And we go to the night turn. So night turn lets us move, but not move into enemy zones of control. Everybody else can come in on C. So Pittsburgh Landing is loaded up with people. They can move. And I guess we can call this, we can go ahead and make it a refill the cup. Okay, first corps gets to go. We'll move here. Can't move into zones of control. And here. Second corps here. And here. First corps, nothing. Reserves. We'll move. I think what's going to happen is we're going to move. Actually, first corps will move back here. And we will move back here. Reserve corps, second corps. Boy, it's all Confederates. Okay, 3rd Division. Corps. Oh. Combat we ignore. Hardy. Okay, 2nd Division will move forward. Union combat, nothing. Gunboats, nothing. And the Army of Ohio, finally. So let's just move these over here to the side. They're sitting in the middle of the Tennessee River right now. Okay. What I need to do is I really need to push these guys back. So we're going to go 2. There's 1, 2. Move this guy here. And actually, I'm going to move this guy up here, this guy here. Oops, I don't want to do that. I want to move. I'm going to move these smaller units up here. And then I'm going to move my 7 and 6. I need to get Gibson here and Kirk here. And move these guys back a little over here. Okay, and then let's see, this guy goes 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll move them up to Chambers Field. And that will help me with my push forward, because during the next, during the days of the 17th, for these first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I have a surprise, just like the Union or the Confederacy did. So that's going to let me try to sweep the Confederacy off the field. I really need to get to Cloudfield, maybe get up here. I don't think, oh, Shiloh Church is CSA controlled. I don't think I can hit the up there. If I can hold it on this side and then move my left flank as hard as I can against Cheatham, I think I'll be okay. And so that will end the day, and we'll move into the next morning. Okay, we're back with day 2 of Shiloh, and the Union's going to start with some surprise. They start a surprise attack at 5 a.m., and they'll get 4 turns here that they'll get to use their surprise, and there'll be 2 turns when we determine victory. Now, it's going to be important for the Union player to get at least one of these positions, one of these 3, the Shiloh Church, this one here, and then the one down here at Cloud Field. If they can get one of those, they'll win the game. Otherwise, it gets down to the point where we have to count up points, and the Union, or the Confederacy, has probably eliminated, yeah, they've eliminated a lot more units than the Union, so the points will be in the Confederacy's favor if that's the case. So let's get started. Let's go to the Chit Cup. And the first corps gets to go. Now we're going to move forward. We're going to have to hold the Union back whatever the cost. So, and keep them back as long as we can. So we will do that. We will move everybody into the line. Second division has just a guy up here. He's gonna stay. Has to stay in the combat. Okay, Third Corps. Where are you guys at? And First Division. Yeah, up and up. And then there's a Confederate combat phase. Okay, let's start at the north, work our way down. So these guys get to shoot first, and they're at a 1 to 4 odds. And at 1 to 4, we roll. Actually, it's going to be like 1 to 8, plus across a creek, so that's 1 to 9, but you count 1 to 4 as 1 to 4 odds. Okay, 2, which is nothing, and then the Union gets to go with a 3. So 2R, that eliminates this guy. Okay. Now this guy's going to be at a 5 to 10, so 1 to 2. It's across a creek, so that's 1 to 3, and we get a 3, nothing, to a 1, which they take 1. And we will step loss this guy, and then we've got to make a morale check to see if they go back, which they pass, so they're good. This guy's not able to do anything. Okay, down here we've got a 3, 6 to 11. So 1 to 4. I think, yeah, that's going to be a straight up 1 to 4 odds. Any morale? Nope. Okay, straight up 1 to 4. 4 and 4. Okay, a 1 to 4 at 4, nothing, and a 1 to 4 at 4, 3R. Okay, so there's our first point. This guy's flipped over. 2 step losses he'll take, so that'll eliminate him. This is kind of coming out like Pickett's charge, basically, at Gettysburg. Okay, here we have a 5 to 8, 1 to 2, and we have to move it 2 columns because it's across a creek and it's in the woods. So 1 to 4, a 5 at 1 to 4, nothing, and a 4, 3R. And that should eliminate this guy. Let me see if there's, yeah, these guys are, that would be, they could take 2 step losses, so. Okay, here, this guy has to retreat before combat. I should have done that before the attack, but that's okay. Now, here we have a 9, and I have to account for all these guys. Actually, I think I can just do one. I can do 1 on 1 here. I don't think you have to account for everybody. 9 to 10, 1 to 2, and then you shift 1, so 1 to 3, 6, that's a 1, and a 4, 2R. Okay, so 1, 2, that's going to be enough here, and actually that 6 is a 7 because he has a +1. So that's a 1R. Okay, so this guy, 1 had to go to, we still have the 1 step loss, and we see if these guys, oh, they have to go back 1 because it's 1R. And then we make a morale check, and they pass, so they stay put. Okay, we have a 5 to 5. Either way, we'll go with this guy here. So we have a 1 to 2, and then it's going to be 1 to 4 because it's across a creek and in the woods. A 3 and a 1. A 3 is nothing, and a 1 means they're going to lose 1. So that's a graveyard. This guy goes back. Or no, we make a morale check. Yeah, no, it's a 3R. So, and makes a morale check and fails. And I'm going to have this guy move into that hex. Okay, and that ended the Confederate charge, and they pretty much got wiped out in the center. So that's it for them. We move on with the gunboats. The gunboats can't do anything. There's not any reason they would only affect anything in these hexes down here. So with line of sight, so nothing. Okay, Union combat phase. Now, Union's going to push against this guy, so 1 to 2, or 1 to 1, plus you're going to shift it 2 hexes to the right, or 2 columns to the right. So so that's 3 to 1 odds, but then we got to shift it back to the left because he's in the woods. So 2 to 1 odds, and I get a 2, nothing, and a 1, nothing. Okay. Up here, I've got a 7, 9 to 5. So 1 to 1. And again, we'll shift it 1 to, I'll just go ahead and do that as a 2 to 1 odds because we're shifting it we're shifting it 2 and then back 1. And we get a 6. At 2 to 1, a 6, so a 2R is going to be a graveyard. And then he had a 2, nothing. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and move into this hex here. Okay, over here we have an 8, 12, 13 to 8. So it's going to be 1 to 1 odds. We shift it 2 to the right, and then we're going to shift it back to the left, so it stays 1 to 1. And we get a 1 and a 6. Okay, nothing. And then the Confederacy actually did okay here with the 6. They get a 2R against the Union. So 2 of these. Step loss. Step loss. They have to go back 1, and we make a morale check, and they fail. They go back 2. Interesting. Okay. We move on. Third Corps already moved. Second Corps already moved. The reserves, gonna stay put. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then First Corps has already moved. Reserves have moved. Army of Ohio. Okay, so they're going to move into position here. Bill. 2, 4. One, okay. He can only go there. This guy, though, can go through here. 2, 4. 1, 2, 3. Or no, 1, 2, 3. Nope, he can't go anywhere. 1, 2. And this poor guy's stuck over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's it. Okay, so turn. That was the 5 a.m. turn 12. We go to turn 13. And we draw. And Army of Ohio gets to go. So we'll move in here. We need to move. Can't move anywhere else. Okay. 2nd Division. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. We go to a Confederate combat phase. Okay, I'm going to pull back, pull back, pull back. We go to the 3rd Corps. Is the 3rd Corps gone? Yeah, I guess Bragg's 3rd Corps is gone, so we can pull them out of. We go to or 2nd Corps. I'm sorry, Bragg's 2nd Corps. Reserves. 1, 2, 3, 4. They're going to try to at least keep Shiloh Church there. Can move back. I'll stay put. Okay, Union combat phase, nothing. 3rd Division. 1, 2, 3. And we'll say 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. The reserves have moved. First Corps is going to stay put. And that's it. Pretty, but so basically we're trying to hold those positions. We go to game turn 14. And the reserves get to go. 1, 2, 3. We'll stay there. We'll pull here and here. Second division. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Pull here. We won't go quite this far. Okay. Third Corps stays put. Reserves. Okay, Confederate combat, nothing. Third Division. And First Corps stays put. Okay, Union combat phase, nothing, okay. Army of the Ohio, push forward, forward, forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. We can go across there, there. Hold on, 1. Nope, he can't go anywhere. 1, 2, 3. Okay, he can't go into place there. And that, I think, is going to be turned. So, okay. So we're trying to basically, this is the last chance the Union has to attack those guys. We're trying, basically the Confederacy are trying to run the clock down here. We're gonna go ahead and pull chits. Okay, Confederate combat phase. This guy has to pull back. He'll pull there. He's going to have to stay put. If he moves back, then the Union gets this, and they win the game. And then this guy will go here. Okay. So he's against a 3, 2, 6. So 1 to 2 odds. And these guys are in the woods, so that's a 1 to 3 odds. We get a 1 and a 3. So 1 to 3 with a 1, nothing, and a 3 is 2R. That's enough to get him gone. And we make the graveyard, and that I think is going to be it. So he can move. He's going to move forward. Okay. Now the next one to go is the Third Corps. They're going to have to stay put. The Union combat phase. Okay. It's actually not that great because I don't have any Union units that can move or haven't moved. So, okay, First Corps. Moving back. Reserves. They're staying put. Army of the Ohio. Okay, they're going to move forward, 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 and forward. And at this point, they control here. First Corps, nothing. Second Division moves forward and forward. And Third Corps can't do anything. Reserve Corps can't do anything. Third Division. And this guy could have moved up 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we'll just move him too. Okay. And that ends the Union. Now, the Union no longer has surprise, but they can pretty much take any Confederate units. So let's go to the next turn. Turn 16. And we go to our Chit Cup. We pull up Confederate combat phase. Okay. We'll pull back. We'll pull back. Let's Union unit can move forward. We'll pull back. Union unit moves forward. Okay. That's combat. Union. Okay, Union phase. Now we're forced into combat here, so we're going to go with a 4 to 8, so 1 to 2, and that's actually going to be 1 to 3 odds. 3. Okay, 1 to 3 with a 3, nothing, and 1 to 3 with a 1 is 1, so this guy takes a step loss, makes a morale check, and passes. Okay, here we have a 1 to 1, that ends up being a 1 to 2 with a 2, nothing, and 1 to 2 with a 4. He takes a step loss, retreats, makes a morale check, and passes. Okay. Down here, 7 to 4. So 1 to 2 odds with a 4. One of these guys is gone. And the other guy is forced back. Let's see, 4. Was that a 1R? Just a 1, okay. And then the Confederacy got a 1 to 2 with a 5. So 1R. So we do a step loss. We make a morale check, and he fails, so he's back 2. Okay, and then finally down here, I've got a 10, 14 to 8. So it's going to be 1 to 1. I'm fighting in the woods, so it's 1 to 2. 1 to 2 with a 6 is a 1R. Step loss, and we'll just see if these guys make their morale. They fail, so they're back 2. Okay, I think that's the Union attack. It was kind of a fizzle. Okay, reserves. Move back, move back. Stay, or move back. First Corps. Is there any First Corps? There's, oh, okay, he's right here. He'll stay put. 3rd Division. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is there a road here? Okay, there is. 1, 2, 3. And then 1, 2, 3. Wait, what? No, 1, 2, 3. Okay. First Corps again. Army of the Ohio goes here. And then we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. And 4. And 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. That's going to be, wait, 1, 2, 3. And there. Okay. 3rd Corps. Not much left for him. 3rd Corps, nothing. Reserve Corps, nothing. And 2nd Division. 1, 2, 3. I was trying to sneak around. 1. Okay, and he can move up here. And that's it for the turn. We're going to move our turn marker to the last point of the game. Okay. Let's see here. Last turn. Combat phase for the Union. Okay, that's what we need. So We'll go here with a 5. I'm going to just use this. I'm going to use 2, 5, 7 to 8. 1 to 2, and it's going to be 1 to 3 with a 5. 1 to 3 with a 5 is a 1. So these guys take 1. And that's a graveyard. And then this guy is going to have to move back. If he fails morale check, he passes. Okay. He holds the line, and then the Confederacy rolled a 1, so that's nothing. Okay, here we have a 2, 4, 6 to 4, 1 to 1, so it's 1 to 2. 1 to 2 with a 3 is nothing, and 1 to 2 and 1 to 2 down here with a 1 is nothing. So, okay, I'm going to go 6 to 8, 1 to 2, and again, this is 1 to 2, 6 to 8, 1 to 2, 1 to 3. 1 to 3 with a 5 is a 1. Step loss, make a morale check. He fails, so he's up here. And then he got a 2. A 1 to 3 with a 2 is a 1R. So step loss, and these guys are moved back. We make a morale check for them, and they fail, so they go back here. Okay, here we have a 8. 8 to 2, so 4 to 1, and that's going to be 3 to 1. 3 to 1 with a 6, well, that's going to take care of him. And he goes to the graveyard, and then they got a 3. There was a 3 to 1 with a 3, nothing. And these guys can move right here. Now they're not going to make that. Well, maybe they will. Hold on. Okay. 4, 8, 12, 18 to 6, so 3 to 1, and it goes back to 2 to 1. 2 to 1 with a 3 is a 1. And then this guy's going to make a morale check and fails, so they go here. And then the 3, 2 to 1 with a 3 here. These guys have to take 1. We'll just take it right with the artillery. And we make a morale check, and they fail, so these guys have to go back. This guy goes to the graveyard, and that is it for the Union attack. We go with the First Corps. Is there a First Corps left? No, so we'll pull that out. Second Division. Okay, this is where the Union's going to shine. They can move in here, and by doing that, that's U.S. controlled. That's all they've got to do. We pull another chit, and the Army of Ohio gets to go here, and that's USA control. And that's pretty much game. We can mop up a little bit, but that's going to be it. So the Union basically won that. They were able to kind of decimate the rebels on the second day, which is kind of like pretty historically accurate too. So anyway, that's the game. I'll probably continue to put the other 3 games. It's Pea Ridge, Manassas, First Manassas, and Bentonville, and I'll try to put those up when it comes close to the anniversary of those battles. For this game, I like a lot of this game. I think there's a few rules that are a little bit kludgy, and I always forget when I'm playing it. I think the artillery units could be done a lot better, but other than that, I do like the chit pull system. Makes it pretty exciting and kind of swingy, so it kind of adds to some interesting randomness to the game, and I have seen the game go back and forth quite a bit because of that. So I don't know, it's not a bad game. I think it's probably in line with most of the blue and gray games. Anyway, that's what I got, and I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.